I will never date American women ever again. I've traveled to South America. I've been to Colombia. Now I'm in Brazil. I've noticed that the women here are a lot more traditional than United States. Let me tell you, I've lived in Miami for over 2 years, and it's very flashy there. A lot of the women believe in this independent, I don't need no man mentality. And I know a lot of other places in the United States have that same reputation where women want to behave like men and men want to behave like women. There's just this dissonance that gets created whenever genders become polarized. If you travel to countries like Brazil and Colombia, women over here are gonna behave like real women.
The harsh reality is that men are leaving their own nations in search of suitable partners elsewhere. It's no surprise that guys from these countries believe they need to slim down before entering the dating pools of other nations, because women in their home countries are always whining about how they are not good enough no matter what they do. Their lofty and far-reaching norms and clear bias towards males are forcing many to relocate to other nations. It's hard to tell if this represents a sea change in women's perspectives or merely the realization of a goal that women have long sought but never before been able to reach. It's probably a combination of the two, but I do believe this to be something that women have secretly desired for a very long time. So, if your gender has been historically oppressed, it's only logical that you'd want to attempt to become dominant and experience power for yourself. The women I know who believe this treat the guys they perceive to be beneath them as if they were worthless, while being completely submissive to the men they perceive to be of great value. That's how I see women at their most authentic and raw, and it's why I think contemporary women in the West reject the notion that men should take the lead and women should follow. They view embracing their femininity as a kind of oppression and applaud those women who choose to be dominant toward males by acting contrary to their nature. Are they conforming to expectations placed on today's ladies, or are they finally doing what they've always wanted to do and coming here? Simply put, the optimal period for a woman to benefit financially from the modern woman mindset is from her early to mid-20s. This attitude is great for those women who are career-focused and have no interest in settling down with a guy or starting a family, but it causes friction when those women ultimately decide they do want to create a family. When things aren't going precisely how women want them to go in terms of work, relationships, and life in general, they expect the equation to magically solve itself. This is when women begin to blame males for everything that goes wrong in their lives. Women aren't hardwired to imagine a future in which they are financially secure enough to spend their golden years at home rather than in a retirement community, so they naturally want to find a life partner before that time comes. Despite their claims to the contrary, most contemporary women rely heavily on men in the form of partners, lovers, and sugar daddies throughout their adult lives. This is the truth of current life. Men are sick and weary of modern women because they make it so difficult for them to have a romantic evening alone. Their unreal expectations are driving men away, and if they do manage to land and commit to a lady, he can count on her to put in the bare minimum. Men get divorced because of the sad bedroom state of affairs, which included incessant grumbling, a lack of respect, and a lack of intimacy. It's the last straw when his kids and finances are taken away. This is driving men overseas in pursuit of other women, which is something I don't agree with but can certainly understand. I can personally attest to the fact that there are women who will only date men from first world nations so they may benefit financially from their passports. It really is a strange and cold world that we're living in. I had a friend and coworker who was making pretty much the same as myself, but she never seemed to have any money troubles and always had enough to comfortably live by while I was living paycheck to paycheck. I finally asked her how she managed to pull it off, and she revealed that ever since they were in college, she and her buddies had been scamming guys to pay for their education. Men from nations such as the US used to be their sugar daddies. Yeah, you heard it correctly. The males used to give them enough money to pay for their tuition and live opulent lives, buying luxury bags and outfits. My friend was clever, so she started investing early, which made her financially more comfortable. If you're a guy and you're thinking that going on a date in a foreign country will help you meet a different sort of lady, you might want to rethink that plan. I've seen a fair amount of real-life situations where men have been deceived by women abroad, and I feel it's time to truly hear from males who've traveled abroad to find brides they can commit to. There has been a dramatic shift in the traditional gender roles over the past half-century, and now few people are aware of the unique contributions each gender is meant to make to a happy, healthy, and well-rounded life. With so many individuals uncertain of their roles, philosophies like those of the modern woman threaten to disrupt the harmony that has historically characterized human existence. Chivalry, for instance, was once seen as a virtue. A corporate leader who welcomed his staff, regardless of gender, by opening doors for them would garner admiration and loyalty. As a result, it no longer has any impact, at least in the United States, and has essentially lost all of its former significance. In nations where conventional gender norms and dating practices persist, this may still be considered chivalrous. The rise of sugar daddy apps, for instance, has only further devalued the dating market, as they validate what we're talking about and bet on the new roles defined by modern women who only date to get what they want without any commitment, and the guy can spend on her for a half-men, half-serious interaction. In today's world, all interactions are just business or, at best, a form of barter. Because women have so many boxes that need to be checked off, males have to do and be so much more. You need to be taller, sexier, drive a certain type of car, have a certain amount of money, be witty, and be more successful than other males. This will only get you a date so far. If something goes wrong, you'll be immediately eliminated. Women don't require men's aid one date, they need all our help since we're meant to provide for them. This changes from woman to woman, thus it may get tough for men to comprehend the dynamics. Understanding if a woman's no or yes means no or yes can be difficult for males. Women play mental games with guys all the time, using them to get on their good side and then dumping them for more successful men. Women in precarious financial situations can't afford to play these games, but there are certain guys who get it. It's crucial that you realize that women in other nations don't engage in these kinds of games as often because their circumstances don't permit it. However, if they go to a developed country, their perspectives will likely shift. To me, it's quite evident that Western society is bewildered and disoriented, and that the family unit has been shattered since there is no longer any idea of a family. I mean, I don't blame men and women equally for Canada's high divorce rate, about 60%, but I do blame our culture and the decline of the family. However, the Filipino culture is just one example of many in Asia and beyond that maintains very traditional family values. And that's something one ought to ideally want. Yet, it comes with its own baggage, including the necessity of taking care of not just her but also her sister, brother, uncle, and parents. In short, while each of these traditions carries its own baggage, at its core, men everywhere want to be valued for their efforts and respected by their female counterparts. You can get this by not falling for empty promises and living independently, and by staying away from a partner you know will exploit your efforts.